Kina is a 4-year-old Connemara who has only had one owner who broke her in and backed her last summer. However, due to her owner's pregnancy, she had not been schooled or worked since November 2017. According to Hedge et al. 2004, Kina has a good sloping scapula which allows for good range of motion of the shoulder. The foreleg and scapula is bisected by the dark blue line which travels perpendicularly from the front of the withers, which is the ideal fall-limb conformation for a horse. McBain 2000 states that the basic proportions of the ideal horse should be split into 3 sections, as the green lines illustrate, and that the very hind section should be roughly half the length of the 2 right sections, and Kina appears to have these traits. Hedge et al. 2004 claims that the balanced conformation of the horse is also split into 3 sections, however they are divided differently to the McBain 2000 proportions. Even with 2 separate methods of viewing the ideal conformation, it appears that Kina has relatively good conformation. However, looking specifically at the hind limb, it can be seen that the cannon bone is in front of the line from the point of the buttock, and she also has slightly straight hocks according to Hedge et al. 2004 and McBain 2000. This type of hind limb conformation may make it slightly more challenging for this horse to engage her hindquarters. This can be seen in her musculature, as she lacks muscle mass and tone in the hind, as well as lacking core muscles which can be seen in the rounded abdomen. However, apart from the hindquarters, it appears that this horse has an overall relatively good conformation. In the walk, it can be seen that she does not track up and has a relatively high head carriage, suggesting that she is not engaging her core musculature, hindquarters, and is not relaxed. At the trot, she still fails to track up and appears to be quite stiff and not supple. During the canter, it can clearly be observed that she is reluctant to transition from the trot to a canter, and also trips when she begins to canter. Although the trip may have been due to an uneven surface, it may also be due to lacking strength and musculature in the hind end, as seen in the static assessment. It can also be seen that she more often than not canters on the incorrect lead. This is most likely due to lack of balance, and she may be struggling to canter on a circle. According to the German training scale, in order for a horse to have a good way of going, they must have good relaxation and suppleness, strength and balance. From the dynamic assessment, it was concluded that Kina is lacking in all of these properties, therefore the purpose of the training program will be to improve these qualities. The goal of this program is to achieve a horse which will be willing to canter on the correct lead by training the horse to become stronger, more supple and balanced over the course of 5 sessions, and a final assessment will determine whether these aims have been achieved. Brick 2010 stated that stretching can help to improve suppleness, which can help to reduce the risk of future injury. Rose et al. 2009 conducted a study which found that stretching the limbs of horses can increase the range of motion of their joints. Each stretch was performed for 30 seconds, post a 15-minute warm-up of every session. The stretching consists of a forelimb protraction and retraction stretch, and hind limb protraction and retraction stretches. Rounding reflexes on the sternum contract the abdominal muscles. The hind rounding reflex also stimulates the abdominal muscles as well as flexing the lumbosacral joint. These exercises were performed after each session and will help to strengthen the core and encourage hind limb engagement. Oliveira et al. 2015 found that a program of core strengthening exercises increased the quality of the walk by increasing stride length. Oliveira et al. 2015 stated that due to the greater range of motion required to step over poles, greater engagements of the hind limbs is necessary. Paulicus and Housley 2009 claimed that negotiating poles activates core musculature, encourages the horse to lower the head, and increase pelvic protraction, which improves impulsion. Dunois 2014 states that long and low is beneficial for engaging the core and stretching the apaxial muscles. This training program consists of a series of pole work to strengthen the core and hindquarters, therefore increasing the engagement and balance to improve the way of going. The training program was conducted on the lunge. Forrest and Clark 1995 states that lunging can teach the horse to listen to the trainer's voice, body language and whip cues, as well as learning to balance themselves on a circle without a rider. Hucken, Hull and Creighton 2013 found that positive reinforcement and having a general positive attitude towards unwanted behavior results in fewer generic ridden behavior problems. During lunging, positive and negative reinforcement and punishment were applied. Unwanted behavior, such as trotting when not asked to, is vocally asked to slow down or ignored without any vocal reward, which is negative punishment, and once the walk is achieved, the horse is rewarded vocally by positive reinforcement. When asked for a faster gait, positive punishment from waving the whip is enforced. When the faster gait is achieved, the whip is lowered by negative reinforcement and vocally rewarded through positive reinforcement. In order for the horse to understand the vocal reward, the horse was asked to back up with positive punishment by applying pressure to the horse's chest. When the horse moves back, then negative reinforcement takes place by removing the pressure from the chest alongside positive reinforcement by rewarding the horse with a treat. As the treat is given, the handler uses their voice, so the horse associates the voice with the treat. This is the first session of ground poles, and the poles are laid out with comfortably large spaces between them, and the last pole is raised. Due to the horse being quite lazy, she knocks a few of the poles with her toes. However, it can be seen that her head carriage is slightly lower as she goes over the poles at the walk. At the trot she becomes very lazy and takes short strides. Due to this, she appears to find going over the poles a bit of a challenge, as she needs to stretch her limbs out to clear the distance of the poles, and the use of the whip is needed to encourage her to keep in trot. However, when a more working trot is encouraged, it can be observed that the poles seem a lot easier to her and steps over them nicely.
Good girl.
For the second session, the poles are spaced out in the same distance as session 1, however the last 2 poles are raised as opposed to 1. When a different arrangement of poles are introduced, the horse is always asked to start at a walk to be safe, so the horse knows what it needs to do and what to expect when asked for a faster gait. As it can be seen on herd, she knocks the raised poles, hence why it is asked for the walk initially, so that she does not injure herself at the trot. Even at the trot, the horse taps the poles, however this could be due to the horse being lazy and the handler's mistake for not asking for a more working trot. In the third session, poles are arranged to only allow for 1 step of the trot between each pole. At the walk she appears a little unsure of whether to take 2 steps between the poles or 1, and this encourages her to lower her head. At the trot, however, she found this to be very easy, most likely due to the poles being spaced at a distance she finds most comfortable to trot over. Session 4 consisted of poles that were spaced at the same distance as Session 3. However, half of the poles were raised, with hopes that she would find this arrangement of poles more challenging, so she would be obliged to concentrate and work her muscles more. At the walk, similarly to Session 3, she appears to find it difficult to place her feet between the poles. At first in the trot, she shows that she is struggling to find her footing between the poles. However, this may have been due to distractions in the surroundings, therefore preventing her from focusing on the poles. Once she focused her concentration on going over the poles, she found this to be quite an easy task. Due to finding session 4 to be rather simple, it was decided to raise all of the poles. As before, walking over the obstacles require concentration and coordination in order for her to step between the poles. It was assumed that, as before, she would find it easier to trot over the poles. However, with all of the poles raised, she shows to find this a lot more challenging and requires her to significantly lower her head, and it can also be observed that she is raising her limbs a lot more than before. After a few rounds over the poles, she manages to execute the poles with more confidence. In the final static assessment, in general it appears that she has lost a bit of weight and is standing with an improved posture. It can be seen that she has increased muscle mass in the shoulder, and her abdominal muscles also appear to be more toned, suggesting that she has been activating her core musculature throughout the program. It can also be observed that she has increased muscle mass in her hind, where muscles such as the semitendinosus and biceps femoris are. This suggests that she has been engaging her hindquarters during the program. The objective of this training program was to achieve a horse which will be willing to canter on the correct lead by training the horse to become stronger, more supple and balanced over the course of 5 sessions. During the final dynamic assessment of the canter, it can be observed that she still canters on the wrong lead. However, with the aid of the whip, it can be seen that she performs a flying change. This is an improvement from before, as she was not willing to do so. The willingness to perform a flying change suggests that she is now stronger, more balanced and confident to canter on the correct lead. There appears to be an overall improvement in her way of going, and the aim of achieving a horse to be willing to canter on the correct lead has been partly accomplished. Ideal actions to take from here would be to continue to ask for the correct lead to teach her to canter on the correct lead every time by herself.